Hello and welcome to On the Kerbs Pub Chat. I'm your host, Thiemo Albers-Daly, and this time I am joined by F1 content creator Sabina Majidli. How are you?
Good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thank you. And before we get started, as we're in my international pub, what is your drink of choice today?
Interestingly, this is not alcohol. Sometimes it changes to some cocktails because I drink alcohol sometimes, but cocktails is better option than this. So there's no name of it, unfortunately. Let's say cola first of all, then we can change it.
Start soft and work our way up. I like it.
Thank you.
So, going into the topic that we're talking about today, which will be Formula One and motorsport in Azerbaijan. So,
Okay.
as your content creator from Azerbaijan, I'm intrigued about how you first got into motorsport. Was it because of the Grand Prix back when it started, or were you into motorsport already?
It's interesting. Why? Because many people always love F1 because they watch it since their childhood, they loved it, and so on. But my journey started as a staff because I had no idea about Formula One except knowing the cause. Okay, so when I started working there, it was 2016, and I was just 19, and I didn't understand how they're like how it's the system working, how they win and so on. Of course, I got trainings about that and so on, but it was too complicated for me. And my focus was about the organization part. But like later, year by year, I started to love it, not just because of drivers, not just because of the cars, but because of the fans, because of the organization, how it starts, how fans are screaming when they win, how they cry when they lose. And I saw everything in real, first of all. Then I start to love it and watch it, how it's saying on TV or online. So yeah, my journey started as a worker. Then I started to understand what is F1 and love it.
And for those listening who don't realize, this is when you started working at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix itself.
Yeah. It was.
And what was the role that you were doing?
It was in ceremonies, actually. I was assistant, and I was helping the managers in ceremony team when it was opening. I was there, and interestingly, first year I obviously didn't see any car. Why? You can ask me why? Because I was working in the parking. There was a mall, and I was working in the parking of the mall because it's obviously it's happening in the circuit. So when it's opening ceremony, you have to you have to show everything on the street. So because we were preparing performances, it was exactly in the parking. So it was around 35 degrees, and we were working in the it was oh my god. And we had uniforms, everyone had to wear black, fully black. So
black.
yeah, it was black, everywhere was black. And that's why I have almost no idea about Formula One exactly. I just heard sound and that's it. I
I
was
was going to
focusing
say, were
on
you able to hear the sounds of the cars at the very least? But you're like, where's that coming from? It sounds just echoing everywhere.
Exactly. And interestingly, it was the shocking moment of mine because I've never heard such kind of sound in my life before. And everyone told me, try to wear something to restrict the sound to your ears. I don't know how does it mean, but anyway.
Earplugs.
Sorry, what? What is it?
Earplugs.
Earplugs, yes, thank you. So I was like, okay, I don't need that. Why should I wear it? And they said like, okay, you will understand. And I was like, oh my God. That's why people love it, I think.
I'm guessing the next year
time.
you brought something to put in your ears then?
Yes, it was the first thing that I brought by myself. When they introduced us, I was like, okay, tell me at least 3 or 3. And interestingly, one of them I keep as a memory of mine. It's something there. Those earplugs.
And so, a good reminder to make sure that any motorsport event, take those with you,
Exactly,
just in case.
exactly.
So then
Definitely.
I'm intrigued. And for someone who did you work there just the first year, and then did you work there after that, or did you kind of then lean into becoming the content creator that you are now, and that was more how you got in the world of Formula One and motorsport, or did you keep going back and working in a different role in the Baku Grand Prix?
Let me tell you like that. The organization actually divides into two parts. One of them is co-staff, one of them is freelance staff. Co-staff is always being there and is like kind of a bank, okay? You're always from 9 to 6 working there. But freelance workers always work during the event or when it comes up, for example, and it depends on the role that you work there. So they always I didn't work fully all year there. I mean, I was working, but during the event or before the event, year 2 months, 3 months, like this. So I was always during the during the Formula One in the interesting moment of it, beside others because of my role. But my role changed from time to time. Second year, I was working in venue operations, in crowd management, and it was so interesting because I was just 29 when I was working there, and I was working mainly with crowd when there's like concerts after F1 or something, and it was crazy. One of the most crazy operations that I've ever done, because that year a Black Eyed Peas, MRIK, and one Turkish most popular Turkish singer, there's Tarkan, came there, and there was around 5,000-6,000 people around. I don't remember. But the place was a little bit small, it was an open air. So yeah, it was interesting for me as well.
So yeah, so I mean, I imagine that's, like you say, a bit of a challenge to be kind of doing one role one year, another role another, but it's good overall experience, and at least we know that you can manage crowds now, because I feel like that's a weirdly useful skill to have. You never know when that might come in handy.
Yes, I found like, okay, I love people, I love always being in the crowd and so on, but it's really so challenging because for me right now it's quite okay, but when you are 21, it's something insane, because there are so many people, many people are screaming all the time, and they always want something to do. Yeah, you don't know what will they do, exactly, because there are many. And I had sweet volunteers that helped me a lot. But for example, I had so many struggling with volunteers, because I don't know, one of the fans slapped my volunteer because he was drunk. And it was, I still remember it since 2017, because it was so terrific, I was in trouble, really. I didn't know what to do, but I was okay. My managers are all there, so I have to keep it up and so on. Yeah, this kind of things also happened during this kind of events, but in the end everything was great, and we delivered everything, and we had fun, and everyone forgot everything. So yeah.
It's a shame that you have to have some of those slightly negative experiences with that, but glad that overall it worked out as a whole and that it wasn't any worse. And like you say, it's unfortunate that there's always going to be one drunk person here or there to try and mess things up a little bit, but that's just the way it is sometimes, unfortunately. But I'm intrigued to get your personal opinion as a fan, because the Grand Prix in Baku's been happening for a number of years now. We've had a number of different winners like Ricciardo, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, and Perez. You've had some very memorable moments. I mean, I'm thinking Verstappen's tyre blowout in 2021. I think it was Hamilton going straight at the restart. Verstappen and Ricciardo colliding quite
Yeah.
famously, Stroll and Bottas going for the podium places, and just naturally a lot of carnage across both F1 and Formula 2 when it's been there as well. But the last couple of years have been a little bit, I don't want to say dull, but less exciting maybe in comparison to those years. So I want to get your opinion as someone who's actually there and has lived through all of it. What has been your take on the Baku Grand Prix?
Exactly. You know, when I hear from fans or from international fans, like, oh yeah, we love Baku circuit all the time because it's too exciting and so on. They love it, love to hear that. But last year's we also were a little bit shocked, like what happened exactly last year when Perez won. I done everything from my side as a work and try to go to watch it, and in the end they said like, okay, it's over, so he's a winner. I was like, how is that over? Is that really over? If there's no red flag or something? They was like,
Seemed too
yeah, and
straightforward.
exactly, and it was like too sly, too calm, and we didn't expect that. And even we said like, okay, sometimes some years, as you said, a couple of recent years, we also don't understand why it's so boring. Maybe they already used to it, used to like this, streets, because our streets, as you see, it's too sharp, and that's why sometimes they struggled. Even if the second year, like in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, Charles Leclerc when exactly pushed the
Oh
wall.
yes, I know which one you're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, even I had a video of it when I was when I was walking the street. I had a little bit, sarcastic video like that. Yeah, so I think other drivers as Charles already used to understand, like, okay, streets are sharp and we have to understand everything where's and how we should do it. Maybe that's why it's a little bit boring already. But once when I watched the video of drivers, Ricciardo told that the video was about the most dangerous circuits of F1, and especially Ricciardo, but others as well, told like it's most dangerous circuits of F1, as they call Baku. Maybe they already know it. That's why it's getting a little bit dull, as you say.
Maybe. I'd wager as well, maybe Saudi Arabia's taken the top spot for most dangerous now, but Baku definitely inspired it, I would say. And I find it interesting because, like you say, when you saw Perez win in 2022, you were thinking, that seems a little too bland, maybe. And so this year they put a sprint race into the weekend to try and see if it would make things more exciting. And again, maybe just me, but I felt like it made it worse than better. And it just kind of it gave you an idea of what you were going to get in the Grand Prix, and then you watch the Grand Prix. And I think I enjoyed the race, but only because of the previous races being so chaotic for the wrong reasons that I was just happy to have a nice, boring race. So it really
Exactly.
messed with my mind because I was like, I shouldn't enjoy this, but I am, but not because of the reasons that they want me to enjoy it. So what was your take?
It was exactly the same thoughts about, like, from my side as well, and from other people as well. I mean, I except of course Baku street circuit, I never understand how people react when they watch other circuits, because I was always with many people, even when I'm like working. Of course, the thing is about me when I was watching the show, the race, I mean, about in Baku, it's sometimes boring. You know why? Because I was always organizing something, I was always focused on other things. But when there's car crash or something, we of course immediately hear that. And at this point, we say like, okay, what's going on? Tell us what happened, and so on. But especially this year and the sprint race as well, actually, I didn't get exactly what is, like, what is the aim for that, and what they want to get from this part of F1.
We all have that
So
question, I think.
okay, I'm not the only one then, right? No, not at all. Okay, so I thought like maybe I can't understand exactly the phone system, but then no. People also said like, Sabina, just like, just work, don't focus on it. I was like, okay. Okay, so yeah, the same here.
And then from another perspective of yours there, it's a relatively new Grand Prix in the history of the sport. It's only been around for a few years. It seems a lot longer than a few years actually in some ways, but it's nice that we have it on the calendar. I'm curious what impact it's had on the country from your side. What was it like before the Grand Prix was there, and what differences have you noticed afterwards? Is it kind of something that's at least the entire city, if not the entire country, kind of really looks forward to? Or is it kind of split a bit in terms of, oh, this is happening, but we're not too interested?
Mm. First year when it happened, we as a country had no idea, because we are not the country comes from Formula One fans, but that's why people didn't understand really. Sometimes they like complain like, okay, why do we need that? Oh, you close the streets because of it, no, and so on. But year by year, as a person, I never complained, first of all, because I'm like event organizer. That's why it's always
Something different.
Yeah, for different. But I really didn't know what I will expect. It's now the story when it came up. But generally, when it happened year by year, fans started to increase year by year, and in other countries also, people. So many other fans from other countries also start to come to Azerbaijan, because before they even some countries didn't have idea about our country as well. I heard about this, of course, and when it comes to my country's people, they start to increase, and especially 40% of our organization provides female staff from in Azerbaijan, 40%. Second thing, interesting thing is this year, in the first time in Formula One history, there is only Marshall Club. Not maybe this year or since last year. I don't remember exactly, but there was the Marshall Post, which is contained with all female people. There was no
Seeing about this, yes.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And so that's why, especially for females, like take me and others as well, start to watch it, start to love it, and hear about that. And right now, it's been already 7 years, I guess. Many people, of course, it like, when something happens, not everyone can say like, oh, I love it, or not can everyone could say, I hate it. But when we can talk about percentage, most of them say like, okay, we're waiting for it. We want to get like our tickets ready. And one other interesting fact, this is the record of sales of tickets, that everything was sold out about our tickets. It was first time in our country, but it seems like they already love it, like our fans, other fans from other countries. And yeah, that's why it's increasing as a love.
It's great to see that it's grown over the years there, because sometimes you look at the F1 calendar, it's so busy, and you think, oh, do we need to go to all of these places? Surely it can't be everywhere that is absolutely loving this. But Baku, like you say, even with a couple of years of we could have had a better race, it's still everyone's believes in that potential of it being there, because we've seen so much drama there previously.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see if you've got anything to say on this part, because motorsport in the region in terms of Formula One has been pretty sparse. I think the closest thing you would have had before would have been the Turkish Grand Prix, which was also another absolutely brilliant race, and I loved that, and I wish it would come back onto the calendar. But if you want to go to a Grand Prix that's close by and you don't go to Baku, the closest you have is either maybe Budapest, or you've got to go into the Middle East, which then gets quite expensive, because it's the Middle East. We know why it's expensive. So I'm curious, have you, from work and from talking with fans, have you heard about any of the other countries nearby that have been at least interested in hosting a Grand Prix? Obviously, we've not seen anything official confirmed there, but was there any country where like, ooh, fans from this particular place would love to have one at some point?
First of all, I would like to start with that. I don't know why, but I love, except our circuit, US Grand Prix, which is quite far from us. I don't know, but after us this year was Miami. And when I talked to teams, they were also excited. And I could understand about it, that there's something inside the organization. So if you take me, I could be in Miami or in Mexico this year. Even yesterday, I posted a story like, okay, I don't know why, but I just want to be in Mexico. Maybe it's
You're
different.
very excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why. But maybe it's different because it's too far from our country. Maybe I don't know how people react there. Because in Middle East, I have so many friends who's working in Bahrain, in Qatar Grand Prix, and I hear about that. Not just only I hear about organization part, I also watch it. And yes, somehow I could understand, like, when it's nearby, you have no desire to be there, or what you will expect. Okay, I don't mean that it's not interesting. No, I mean there is
It's
no
just more
wow
exciting
effect.
to go somewhere far away because it's just so
Yeah,
different. So you don't feel
exactly.
like you need a Turkish Grand Prix, a Georgian Grand Prix, and a Baku Grand Prix. Just have one here, have one here, and have one
Yeah,
here. Don't be like,
yeah,
don't maybe not have four in the Middle East, like you say. Like, we understand what it's going to be. Have one or two maybe, but don't do so many. Is that more what you're coming? Yeah.
exactly. But for example, I really wish one day again Turkish Grand Prix will be on calendar as well, like you, because Turkey is, and for me Turkey is big Azerbaijan because our language is so close. Even we travel without passport, we can, like, with ID, we can travel there. So that's why it's kind of inside of the country in the bigger part. And at least two times a year I travel there. That's why it's kind of like, part of me when it comes to Turkey. And when it happens, I could just, like, enjoy, not just because it's Turkey, but it's close in this part, I mean. Because kind of second Baku circuit, Baku street circuit. But when it comes to talk in general, yeah, for example, Australia, or I don't know, Mexico, Austin, Miami, especially Miami. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's Miami. That's why people love it for like
It's
chilling
more
and
about the
what.
city rather than about the racing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why. Yeah, that's why I prefer a little bit far. And Middle East countries is too hot sometimes, because I hear sometimes people complaining about, like, okay, everything is great, but weather is too hot. That we already watched the last races. When, what was it?
Qatar.
Qatar, yeah, Qatar Grand Prix. Believe me, it was the first time that I was shockingly watch it. I was like, oh my God, what happened to him? What happened to them? Oh, what's going on? And yeah, I know it's not good when you see, like, someone is throwing up, someone feels so bad in a car. But for fans, it's too exciting. Like, you don't understand. It's like kind of TV series, right? Like, what's going on with the people. That's why, yes, this type of things I love to watch. But when it comes to being in other races, it's gonna be far a bit. Maybe
That
Silverstone
does
as well.
that does lead me into a question I wanted to ask you then, in terms of what works and what doesn't with regards to the Baku Grand Prix. I'm thinking, is it, and again, I love the Baku Grand Prix. However, would it maybe benefit the Baku Grand Prix itself and the region if it did, say, we have four countries in the region. We have Azerbaijan, Turkey, and I don't know, say Egypt because it's nearby-ish, and then we have Georgia, and say, like, okay, 1 year we're going to go to Baku, then we're going to go to Turkey, then we're going to go here, and we have a bit of a rotation. Would that make it more interesting for you, do you think? And and then because even if you then got a race like we've had this year and last year in Azerbaijan, do you think that
Okay.
fans wouldn't mind it as much because, ooh, we're going back to Baku and it's not every year? Because I think this is something that Formula E has done really well with their calendar. They have a few that stay on most years, but they have a bit of a rotation going and they go to new places, they try things out, and then if not, they go back. Do you think that that would be
Oh,
something that would be beneficial or just stay in Baku?
okay. For me, just staying back, of course.
Okay.
From
Nice,
my
there we go.
side,
Next question.
yeah, not this question is not a fan, because it's kind of, when I don't right now I don't talk as a fan.
Okay.
For me, when it happens every year, it's kind of, school session, like, because in many cases it happened till next year. It happened only on April or in July or in June,
Hmm.
right? But in 2024, it's gonna be on September. I don't know what will happen. Anyway, we never had this kind of experience in September. But when it happened already, people used to it as Azerbaijani people, and we understand, like, when they're constructing everything, okay, the cars, like the event is going to be happen soon and so on. But as a fan, I think people could forget, they can forget, like, okay, there's okay, there's gonna be in Baku. All right, well, which one was it? 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Oh, when it happened. Okay, so let's see what will happen. But when it happens every year, as a fan, I'm saying again, maybe people will say, okay, last year it was a little bit boring. Let's see what will happen this year. Maybe it's gonna be exciting again. They will do something different. That's why, no, as a fan and as a person, like organizer, every year in Baku, please.
I think it's definitely one of those tracks that because it had such an exciting first 5 or 6 years that everyone kind of lets it get away with it and probably will for another couple. Hopefully we don't have another couple of boring races. I'd like it to be I want to see what that change to in the calendar makes to it. Um, and the street track nature of itself is good. I think it's just maybe the current regulations in the sprint race that haven't suited it so well. So maybe when we get the next set of regulations in 26, we can have something interesting again. And I think something that's worked really well has been the Formula 2 when it's been there because they are smaller cars, there's more of them. And you saw the racing there this year, absolute mayhem in both races, and you're like, this is the Baku that we want.
Exactly. Sometimes I say, like, Formula 2 is better than Formula 1 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe because of the drivers, maybe because of their age, I don't know, the generation, maybe, let's say, you can see how crazy and passionate they are, like, driving so hard. And I love the fact that they are not so calm when they see cars,
Yeah.
and even you can hear the sounds of it. And people say, like, okay, this is Formula 2. It's more exciting. Let's see what will happen right now. And you will see so many car crash and so on. And that's why, especially in Baku, you can see so many car crashes about Formula 2 rather than Formula 1. So that's why sometimes we prefer to watch it more than in fun. But of course, like, it's a fun, and no one could say, like, oh no, it's gonna be
No,
interesting then.
it's I think to go off what you're saying, the Formula 2, the drivers, they are more willing to risk certain moves because they're still trying to get to Formula 1. They're obviously not there yet. They're on the same weekend as Formula 1. They don't know who's watching. And so even when it goes wrong, because obviously we're not hoping that all 22 cars crash out, that would be silly. Be a little bit kind of funny in some ways, as long as everyone was all right. But you see some of the stuff from the last 2 years and you think, well, I'm glad you tried at least and you've got ambition there. Whereas F1, they seem to, I don't know if it's maybe the cost cap regulation or just them all being too mature maybe on some level, but they're like, it's a long season. I'm not going to make any silly mistakes. I'm not going to take any big risks. I'm just going to follow the car in front and we'll see what happens, which
Exactly.
is not what you want really from racing, but it's maybe more understandable. Whereas with F2 and Well, definitely F2 and definitely F1 in the few years gone by. I'm thinking when Williams was there, definitely with Mercedes and everything else, it was good fun to watch that. And you're not expecting all these teams to be mixing up there. So I think they need to get more back to that, and it really sells itself well as it's a new-ish location. It's exotic. It potentially opens up the region. You've got the young drivers in F2 who it's a great test for them, and so I think that's why even with a slightly dull F1 race, you let it get away with it because you've still had a good weekend overall because you have another racing series with it.
You know, and if you want to hear about interesting story with F2 driver, I had a little bit dangerous story with him. Unfortunately, I don't remember his name. Unfortunately, because it was around 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Anyway, I just remember that I stand and the driver came up to me and he told me like he want to go from the pit stop. And I was like, okay, but right now you can't just stay here because, you know, after the race, all F1, F2 cars and all their teams are going. They are leaving the pit stop, and then pit lane, pit stop, everything like there. And then I said like, okay, you can go. But he stood by my side, and then I just look out everywhere, and I saw like he's not here anymore, and he wants to go. I was like, hey, don't go! And then cars start to come. I was like, oh my god, what are you doing? And I just like screamed to other members of my team, like, okay, just tell him not to go. And they said like, okay. So don't do it. Like there's cars and it's coming up, and it was like, you know, it was too dangerous for me. I was like, oh my god. And the other fact is because when other cars are leaving the pit stop, there is a sign like you can go, and person is like, you know,
normal signs that everyone can understand normally.
Exactly. And this time it was like go. Okay, the sign was go, and cars just saw like, okay, we have to go. And that's why when the driver wanted to go, I was just like, you know, so embarrassed. I was so bad for him. I was like I told you, he was around 14, 15 years old.
Road safety. And come on.
Yeah, that's my voice safety. I was a little bit, I felt a little bit bad, but everything was okay.
You're saying it was 2 or 3 years ago, even though you can't remember the name, I can probably make a guess about one or two of the drivers that it might have been. That would make sense. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he is not from F1 right now. But I'm sure that I just, you know, it was the moment that I can't think about him. I just thought about the situation. That's why I couldn't remember his name. If there's like could be any chance, I could ask his name or something, or to take photo at least in order to remember. But anyway, yeah, sometimes it happens. That's why I love to be in F1. If it's F2 as well at the same time.
So I'm curious then, you've worked at the Grand Prix for a number of years. You've watched a couple of the races now that you've been able to as well. It's a shame it's those ones, but that's a different thing. What about the Baku Grand Prix then hasn't worked for you? What would you improve if you were in charge?
Interesting question. Because I just try to think about as a fan. Inside of the organization, everything happens, like everything pops up, fucks up sometimes. But when it's maybe as a circuit, I don't think that we could do something because it's just a circuit, and maybe like everything already done. But maybe the audience is smaller than other countries I observe. Maybe we can increase that from next year, because before that, always not many people always try to watch it in our country. I mean, fans in comparison. I mean, with other years. For example, this year we said, okay, it's sold out. Maybe we can increase the audience to welcome so many people again. But what about circuit? I don't know. Really, I don't know, because it's circuit. We have no idea what to do with the circuit. with the circuit to change it. But for sure, not like sprint races. I mean, if there's any change, I cannot change for example, I cannot add the sprint race or something. I could leave it, like that.
I'd say this is
Maybe,
maybe more a question for sprint races themselves, but maybe one way to make it more interesting if we did have a sprint race would be put all of the reserve drivers in instead of having the normal drivers, because then it
yeah,
would be perhaps more like Formula 2, as we were talking about, where these drivers, they're even closer to Formula 1, but they're not quite there. So maybe they would be more willing to risk it, but I don't know if the teams would like that, because that's potential for a lot more crashing and a lot more money that they don't want to spend. But from a fan, that could be quite exciting. But I don't know if
exactly.
we'd just do it in Baku, and then that's the unique thing for Baku to have that.
Exactly. And interesting, maybe everyone is like that when there's cockroach and when it happens too much. I don't know, but people enjoy it too much. When you hear the sound of it, it was like, yes, there's a cockroach. Okay, I know it's too bad,
It's like the
but
Colosseum.
yeah, and like we have fun. But I just remember, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021, the not crash, but the Hamilton's.
Yeah, he missed T1 where he just went straight. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
straight
Yeah.
part. It was, I just cannot forget this part in whole Baku city circuits history, because when no one, like, what happened, all people, like everyone just waiting for the victory, and I was like, okay, we are like waiting for when Hamilton will come, and what happened was like, okay, where is he, where is he going, because not everywhere I can see because of the TV screens and so on. First thing, I don't know why I came to this question anyway. Yeah, but the second thing, what I remember is in 2018, when the Ricciardo had crashed with the Max Verstappen in Red Bull. It was in front of my eyes, and I was with the Red Bull team. I mean, sorry, not Red Bull fans. I mean, I was with Red Bull fans because that year I was, I don't remember. I was again in venue operations team. I was like operating venue, and anyway, I was with them, and I could understand how they shocked. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is it? And at that time, I really cannot forget that moment, and the second moment of Hamilton. And every year in our circuit as well, people always waiting for this kind of challenge. Like, and that's why maybe now I just remembered to think about your question, that if this kind of crash or something happens, it's gonna be more exciting again in Baku.
My last question for you then is that what other motorsport would you like to see either in Baku or Azerbaijan more generally? Because for me, I think given the street circuit nature of the track and this particular category's pure love for street tracks, I really want to see Formula E in Baku. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yes. I don't know how the government think, how the people think, but we also, as people in our country, would like to see it as well, because as I mentioned before, we already used to the game, used to this race, and understand the moment of it, understand, okay, it's happening all year, so why not add Formula E to this circuit again? So yeah, in this time, not just only because of Formula One, but it's just because more exciting and different from because we already, it's Formula One. That's why, yeah, it's gonna be more interesting. But I have no idea how they think about government. If it's gonna be, I could hear something, but I have no idea for now.
If you could have any other motorsports come to Azerbaijan, what would you? Is there anything where you're like, oh yes, I want that?
You mean motorsports, right? Just only.
Yeah.
Mm, you know, Formula One, is the most final stage for me, and I cannot. It's like, you know, love of my life. So I just cannot imagine anything else except Formula One. That's why maybe Formula E, maybe IndyCars, but it's just because it's different. But again, the Formula One is the thing. Like when I heard that it's gonna be till 2026. You can understand how I was happy. Like, oh my god, like it's the most interesting news for me for the day. And I heard it a little bit before because I was inside of it, and I couldn't stand to share it with everyone. But when I saw like everyone already saw it, I was like, yes, it happens. So that's why, of course, for our country, if there's more other motorsports will held, it's gonna be plus. But for me, Formula One is the one and only, how it's saying. That's why I don't know. I don't think like I'm gonna enjoy with like when there will be Formula E or IndyCar as Formula One. But definitely we'll understand like, yeah, it's different, and we'll feel this difference in comparison with them.
Formula One or nothing. It's you've got your one true love.
I know. I like that. That's my character. I always the same, like black or white. There's no gray. That's why. Maybe it affects to love of my motorsports as well. People like, oh, Sabina, no, that's okay. Like you never see, like you never watched IndyCar, or you never watched Formula E, like Formula One. I was like, no, just only F1, please, no.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect place, I think, to finish this particular episode. So that is all we've got time for on this week's episode of the Kerbs Pub Chat. If you want more from Sabina and I in the meantime, details of where you can find us will be in the description of this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back in the not distant with another episode. And I want to thank you, Sabina, for being here today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you about everything. In the meantime, shall we go and grab another drink?
Yeah, of course.